We're told to let our light shine before others so that they can see our good works and glorify our Father in heaven. But how do you do that when you work in an industry that, for all accounts and purposes, is in conflict with faith? I hope you guys stick around. We have the perfect person to answer that question. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Christian Influencer Podcast. I am Alex, and I have my host with me here, Brian. Say hi, everybody.
Howdy, everybody.
Howdy. You're from California. All right. So that being said, though, we have a really special guest with us today. We have DEANNA Shapiro with us today. And I'm hoping that you guys are buckled up because we got some really cool stories to share. But DEANNA, why don't we just start with, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell everybody what you do and how you got to be there and how you do it.
Okay. Hi, I'm DEANNA, and I produce movies, which everybody thinks is so cool. But I started in the business, in the entertainment business, when I was 14. My parents moved my family from upstate New York to California, and when you go to California, everybody wants to be in the movies. So my mom busted her butt, got us agents, 4 kids in my family.
Wow.
And we auditioned and we did the whole thing, and we lived in Orange County, and we had to drive to LA for auditions back and forth. My poor parents were like on the road for hours and hours every day.
We're in Orange County?
When we first moved out, San Juan Capistrano.
Okay.
So South Orange County.
Yeah, right.
So it was really
Even south
a
of
long
Irvine.
drive.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a wild drive.
Yes. And between 4 kids, it was like we might have 2 auditions a day with different times, different locations all over the city. So I started as a child actress. Did that, did a bunch of commercials, that kind of stuff, and then got tired of auditioning and letting other people decide when you work, basically. And so I transitioned into producing, and I wrote a script and figured I've been on enough sets. I've seen what people do. I can do this. So wrote a script. I directed, produced it, went to upstate New York where I was born, and family and friends and everyone, we used my godmother's house as our main location, hired a great crew who knew what they were really doing, and just kind of fell into it, learned. Everybody asked, did you go to film school? And I'm like, no, I went to by the seat of your pants, try it. We grabbed some 35 millimeter short ends and, upstate New York, great crew. And we put together a film. It's called The Legend of Crying Ryan. And it's a family movie. It got the family approved from the Dove Foundation, which was one of my big things. I wanted it to be, and they were great because I had submitted the script to them, and they said, you got to do a little bit of tweaking, change a couple words, which were easy fixes. And so I did that, and it came out, it got distributed, and then a couple of years later, my movie making partner, Kim Bass, who created Sister Sister and Keenan and Kel, called me a couple of years later and said, hey, I want to direct a movie. Will you produce it for me? And I was like, okay, let's do it. And
It's like really easy or something,
yeah, okay, sure. And that was another, micro budget thing,
Oh, yeah.
but we pulled it together, did it, and I've been working with Kim for 20 years. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started. And right now I have Tyson's Run is a movie Kim and I did, which is streaming on Angel.
Okay.
It did a small theatrical during COVID, and then went on to Netflix, got to number 8 in international on Netflix, and then they released it domestically, and we got to number 4.
Nice.
Which was amazing for a small independent film.
Sure.
And then Angel picked it up, so we're happy with that. So
What have you got working on right now? Have you got anything in the works?
we do. We have a bunch of great stories. We have one about Henry Flipper, who was the first Black West Point cadet to graduate officer school. So that is when we're hoping to start pre-production in January.
Very cool.
We have another one about World War II P-38 bomber pilot Philip Goldstein, who we're going to be doing. And Kim wrote all of these. Kim is an amazing storyteller. So the scripts are wonderful. We actually have distribution lined up. We've got studios who are like, yes, finish them and bring it to us. So as with any independent movies, we're still waiting on the funding.
Sure.
But hopefully soon.
It always comes down to money.
To the money. Once we get the money, 20 years of working with crews and people we know who we're bringing together, and it's like, let's go.
That's awesome. That's
yeah,
awesome.
so we're
And it's funny you're speaking like both of our languages, because he spent a good amount of time in the entertainment world, and then the stuff that you're doing now. I come out of the military, so you're saying names. I'm sitting there like, boy, I was raised on some of those guys. Like I know their stories. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's awesome. But what I'd like to do now, if I can, I'd like to step back a little bit, because we're here about the Christian Influencer podcast. So let's talk about, how did you come to Christ? Were you like raised in the church, or did you come to him later in life, or how did that relationship develop?
Okay, so being Italian, we're brought up Catholic.
Okay.
Went to church with grandma, grandpa, the whole deal. Did first communion, religious instructions every week. And then after that, kind of nothing. So
Yeah.
so always believed in God.
Yeah.
Grandma's always praying. Churches on or crosses on the walls. Statues of saints in the house.
Sure.
Was always there. So we always knew God was there. Manger, Christmas Eve, baby Jesus was born. So just kind of, I don't want to say it's kind of like on the outside. God was there, always there, and you just kind of accepted it.
Sure.
And then when we moved to California and we got into the business, I was kind of thinking, wow, I'm too cool for God. Right? I'm too cool to be a Christian. And funny thing was,
That's part of the Hollywood is the conformity.
Yeah.
Like saying, oh yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Pass it.
Yeah, I'm too cool for that. My godson and my aunt was like, oh, he's listening to this terrible music. There's this Christian band, DC Talk, coming. Would you take him to the concert? And I was like, okay, I'll go. Right. So we went, and I saw DC Talk, and I saw Kevin, Michael, and Toby, and thought, those are the coolest guys in the world.
Wow.
So if they can be Christians, then why can't I? And that's literally what did it to me. Started going to church with my aunt at her church, and we had a big family baptism in the pool in my backyard. Wore my DC Talk t-shirt. So that is how it started.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Well, so how old are you when you have this baptism now? Then?
That I'm gonna say I was probably about 35.
30. Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah,
That's later.
I had
So
kids,
it's like
family.
almost a 20-year gap, 15-year gap
Yeah.
since the high school to
Yeah.
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 See, and that makes a little bit more sense to me, because I didn't even come to Christ until I was like 33. So I kind of relate more to that as, whatever, all that God stuff that you guys do, whatever,
Yeah.
fine. But yeah, there wasn't anything. So as you start saying, okay, if they can do it, and it's interesting that you kind of saw that there was no longer a shame attached to it. Like
Right.
it's allowed.
Right.
But the question then is, okay, so now that you're saying that because it's allowed, how do you then develop to okay, well, it's from now just saying, okay, well, let me get back into just going into the routine of church, to when you're sitting here going whoa, you know what? I should actually probably be praying often. I should be in my Bible more often. What transition makes it into no, this is something I'm personally going to pursue?
I think trials do. It's like stuff happens and you're like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's when you start praying, about everything.
Yeah.
First thing in the morning is wake up, let me get through this day. Let it be peaceful, please. No drama. I mean, and I know I'm probably not saying traditional prayers, but that's how it comes from me. It's like, please just let me get through the day. And that's basically it. It's like, you got to pray, you got to pray, you got to pray. And then the Bible, you got to read. And then, you got to know the prayers. Like, I love the Psalms because David went through so much
Yeah, he did.
crap.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, I am
Oh
right
yeah.
there with you.
Oh
So
yeah.
I can relate, to all of that. And he just is constantly calling out to God. And it's like, that's kind of how my walk has been. It's like just desperate need and seeing things happen in the miracles. And you're like, that could have only been God,
So let's double click right there then. So, because I know I've seen some things too where you're looking at it and you step back and you go, you know what? I don't have an answer other than I think God did that. Like I can't come up with an answer other than that. So,
Right.
so what was the kind of miracle or something that you can think of that's like, man, I saw him do that, and it's just I can't deny who he is after that.
Okay, so 4th of July, my family and another family are out at Lake Havasu, and the husbands take the older kids off on a jet ski. They're gone. And so my other, the wife friend and I have the little kids, and they're tied up to a inner tube. And her son, who's probably 6 years old, 80 pounds, decides to get off the inner tube and gets caught in the river
no.
and starts drifting.
current.
Yes, in the current. And I look at her and she goes, I don't know how to swim. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I dive in the water, get out to him, grab him, hold it. He's 80 pounds. I'm like 100 pounds. So he's like pulling me down. We're in the current. Jet skis are going by. Boats are going by. We're just drifting along. And I'm thinking, I am literally going to die out here with this little kid. And it crossed my mind, let go of him and save yourself, or you're both going to die. And at that moment, for some reason, I flipped over on my back. He held on to my stomach and we drifted to shore. And I'm thinking, that was God.
Yeah, I mean, why?
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Flipping on your back, that means you're not swimming at all, really.
No.
You're just kind of letting it. So
Yeah.
and that wasn't even what crossed your mind.
No, because I was trying to get back to our cove. So trying to fight the current to go the other way. And then just, nope. And we just drifted to shore.
Jeez, it's kind of like a real Jesus take the wheel kind
Yes.
of.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. You come face to face with something that could be end your immortality, and you start really kind of questioning things for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so now you're starting to see that this is real and that there's actually someone watching over you. So then you start saying, okay, well, now that my walk is growing, but I still work in the entertainment world. Okay, well, you talk about sending Daniel into the lion's den, right? So, what is it like then? How do you navigate through some of those waters? And because I'm sure there's hardships involved.
There's definitely hardships. There have been times when I've been told by directors or other people, don't mention that you're a Christian, don't mention that you voted for so-and-so, just be quiet. But I think with me, what happened was some of the first movies I was happy to do were like horror flicks. And it's like,
Okay.
Well.
yeah. And then it got to the point where I'd read a script and go, I couldn't watch that with my grandma, so I'm going to pass. And I have become more selective in the projects I'll do, which is the ones that we've got going now, I would be so proud of, and not ashamed to say, a little sketchy on the material. So I've been able to do that, but through working in all of the movies, I have found a lot of crew members who are also Christians. And so we know who we are. And I always hire them back because it's a good thing. We have our little network. And we actually,
There is something you said about taking care of your family first,
yeah,
so that then you can able to disseminate amongst the populace like disciples.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah, it's the same thing about the analogy of the putting your air mask on first, so then you can help the other person out later.
correct.
Yeah, so you don't kill yourself. You need
Yes,
to fill yourself in the spirit first, then you can overflow that to other people.
right,
Yeah.
right. And we, a couple of years ago, we did a TV series called Destination Heaven. It was through PureFlix and Sony, and we went to Kentucky, and it was amazing because we're on set, and my first or second AD is like, where's the director, where's the first AD, and I'm watching them in prayer. They're praying about what's going on before we start filming. And Monday every morning at 8 a.m. we had a prayer group. you know Nobody had to go, but people showed up, and some of the local pastors would come each week. And so that kind of stuff is okay now, if you're around the right people.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've been lucky that I've gotten away from the horror films and been able to kind of just move into this area of the good stuff. There's so much crap going on in the world without Hollywood throwing more at us.
Sure.
When I go to a movie, I want to tune out and just be entertained. I don't want to think about, oh my gosh, this is really happening. I could have stayed home and watched the news. So that's my thought. So I want to put goodness out.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said. I remember when the movie Fahrenheit 9/11 came out. I had just returned back from my first tour in Iraq, and my family said, "Hey, let's go watch this new whatever." And I remember how hard that one, like, I shouldn't have been in that theater.
Right.
And what's shocking too is after some of the stuff in there, I was like, I don't think they needed to have been in there either, because they didn't need to see that side of it, and not at that stage of life anyway. It might have been one of those things that later possibly. So I do think that there's a lot to be said about how Hollywood seems to kind of throw fuel on the fire kind of thing, right? They know that there's a flame there, so they just kind of accentuate it instead of addressing it. So I think that's a beautiful thing, is that you're trying to say, look, I'm not trying to like burn anything. I'm trying to actually give something. And what a great way to think about that. So I'd like to go back to when you said that you would find other people on the set and they would have. So how often do you think it would be that you would find people who are kind of just doing the job, but underneath they're actually Christian, or they're trying to, fulfill a role, but not lose themselves in the process?
What I found, and how I found these other Christians, closet Christians, was I hired one person, and then his people he chose, he had already known. And so they came. And so I kind of got his little network, and then just, talking on set, you talk,
Sure.
And it's like, oh, my pastor said this last week, or you pick up on that, or I go to this church, and it's like, okay, you pick up on that. And then you just kind of, put that in the memory, and it's like, okay, so this person, and then when you can get alone, you can discuss things more.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, then what would it be like for people if they're, because this is, I think for the viewers, a lot of them might be saying, hey, I work in an industry, it's not very open about our faith. How would you say, this is how it's okay to kind of start forming the relationships or start having those conversations? And, I'll even be the first one to admit that there's probably a time and a place. Sometimes it's more important to just get the job done. But at the other side of it, though, is you shouldn't deny it. You can't, as Christ once said, if you deny me to the world, and I'll deny you to the Father, kind of thing. So how do you sit there and be like, okay, I know that where does the line come? I mean, that's where for me, that's the navigation that's hard, is how do you be like, no, this is where I got to draw the line of either I'm going to say yes or no.
I think you have to know the audience. If you're working with a bunch of people who are, just anti-God, the whole deal, then you're probably better off just being quiet or being very subtle.
What? You can't just do again. You shall not pass. And the light shines. Everybody.
Exactly.
Just throwing holy water on them and stuff.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. Yeah, probably not a good idea. It's tough. It is tough. I mean, I think, in my position as a producer, I have a little more leeway because, hey, that's who I am, and you're working for me.
Right.
So if you want to say something, great. If but I have gay people on my sets. I have, woke people on my sets. I don't care. Everybody's entitled to their views, but you know.
Well, and then how do you express when the time comes? How do you address like? Have you had people come up where they have a question, like they're saying, I hear you talking about this, but I'm just curious, and they aren't a Christian yet, but they're curious about asking a question. How do you address when they approach you warm like that, or?
I haven't had it happen.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
So, well, I also noticed that you brought up like you were raised up Catholic. Are you Catholic now then?
No.
No. Okay. So there's an interdenominational context here too. And just like you said, even on the set, we can have a lot of different people from different, could have a Lutheran or a Baptist or a Methodist or whatever.
Right.
How do you kind of navigate where it's like sometimes they can start being like, no, we're going to butt heads. And you're looking at going, that's not what we're here for.
I think that because of our business and because we're told to be quiet so often that they don't do that.
Oh, gotcha.
You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm not going to start a fight. I'm here to work and.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, well then, I guess the only other question I would have is because there's other people who they would obviously go the other way with it, and they're just like, no, if you're not even expressing it, that you're not living out your full faith. But at the same time, I also remember that there's times where Jesus himself was saying, look, if you're in the wrong town, shake the dust from your feet. So how do you kind of discern like, okay, if this is something we need to have a conversation about, because if somebody's actually hurting, when somebody's in need, there's a whole different, that's a different dynamic there. So how would you kind of perceive that, especially if there's someone who on set, you might be the lifeline that they need, but at the same time, it's hard to discern if they need it because they have to hide it. Is there a way to kind of even open those doors? How do you have those conversations?
I find with me, kind of like by example, like I'm the producer, whoop-de-doo. So if there's something on the ground, I'm going to go pick it up. I'm not going to say, hey, can I get a PA over here to pick up this when I'm standing right there? Or if someone's carrying something, can I go help them? Or, I've brought coffee to my grips and the grips look at me like, what are you doing? It's like, just being a good person,
Oh.
And so I try and
lead by example.
yes,
Don't be a dictator.
yes, exactly. And the humility, humble yourself. I don't have to be the producer. It's just like, hey, we're a team, we're a crew. Let's get this movie done. That's the Italian in me, the hands. Sorry, I just talk with my hands.
I know there's certain hand signals. I was going to say, I almost wanted to do it, but I was like, I don't even think I should because I know I've seen that before.
So sorry.
But yeah, I think if we just broke rules, I apologize to everybody. It was not our intention.
Oh man, yeah. Now we're gonna have to cut the.
I know. Okay, well, and that actually brings up another aspect too. Is there are these different perceived like just elements like that. So where do you? Because you're the producer. Sometimes you got to put out the fires.
Yeah, that's what I'd like to call myself. I'm the fireman on the set. All I do is run around and put out fires all day. If I can keep everyone happy and everything good.
I can attest to that. When she helped me out at my convention,
Sure,
she was helping put out fires.
Nice. Yeah, actually, yeah, because you got to be part of the first convention when we did it a few years ago. So, okay, well, so let's go ahead and you've got some projects that you're doing right now. What's like your dream ambition? Okay, all these projects you've been doing are great, but if you would just said, hey, this one came across my desk and I would be like, I would drop everything and I'm going to just do that. What would that be?
The one I'm absolutely in love with and hope that I can, remain some part of it is the one about Philip Goldstein.
Okay.
Yeah, the World War II pilot.
Yeah.
His story is just amazing. Especially in the times today, his plane, he was a Jewish boy fighting the Nazis, and you can look him up. His plane, the call name was Jew Boy.
Yeah.
And his story is just what he went through and everything. That's like the dream project.
What I really like too, that the other one that you did take on, the military was one of the first places where interracial division had to get nipped in the bud.
Right.
And so it's great to, you guys are just kind of putting on center stage some of the people who paved those ways. And that's the kind of stuff that's needed.
Yeah.
Because I know, especially, it seems like lately we almost seem like we're going backwards. Like everyone wants to become more hateful towards each other again. Even
And more segregated.
Right.
Yeah. It's like, no.
Okay, well, I love it. So you're stepping right into it. That's beautiful. So you're taking a problem and you're saying, I can use my talents directly to try and combat where this is heading in the wrong direction.
Right.
I don't know how to be any more Christian than that. That's beautiful. Okay, well, so I know I want to honor our time here. I don't want to go too far over, but I have a quick. If you were going to turn around and say, "Hey, there's somebody who wants to become someone in the entertainment business," and like you said, sometimes people ask, "Oh, did you go to film school or whatever?" Today's environment, if someone's really trying to get plugged into that world, what would be your advice to them? Especially if they're Christian already and they don't want to get lost in the process.
Yeah, it's a really tough business in the sense that there's a lot of nepotism and a lot of who is how you work, basically. So I always recommend, start out as a PA, start out as an intern. If you can get on set and just pay attention and be helpful and anticipate, you'll learn, watch, observe. That's the best way. And then if you're needed, if we have one PA who checks in and out the walkies every day, that's his job. He has to do it. And if he does it great, wonderful. That's all he's got to do. So if you can get into a position where you're needed, or I know with me and my production assistants, it's the person who kind of shadows me or kind of anticipates, or if they hear something going on, is already thinking 2 steps ahead, that I've got this taken care of. Well, then that gets noticed. And then it's like, oh, next time he was really good, so I'm going to hire him again. But basically it's get on set and just observe and see what goes on and kind of see. Nowadays, everybody's got a phone, so everybody is a filmmaker, basically.
Right?
Filmmaker. But there's a lot that goes into it. We have crews of 50 to 60 people running around all day, and as long as they do their job, then I don't have fires to put out. So get in there and just know your job and do it well.
Nice. Okay. And I love how you brought up like the anticipation and almost showing, we used to call it taking the initiative. But I learned a long time ago that sometimes in taking the initiative, you can guess wrong.
You can't.
And then you kind of get ahead of things and you throw a monkey wrench in and you cause a fire while you were trying to get ahead of it. What would be your advice to someone who's saying, look, I wanted to do that, but I'm actually afraid of choosing the wrong thing. And now because of fear, they just do nothing.
Right. Okay. So I have another funny story. On set, I have a production assistant, and my makeup artist comes to me and says, I need Gillette 4-blade razors. Can you send the PA to get those? I'm like, okay. So I grab a PA. I say, I need a pack of Gillette 4-blade razors for makeup. Go get them. He comes back with some cheap 2-blade stuff and brings them to the makeup lady. And she comes back and she goes, what is this? I said, I told him to get what you said. And we bring him over and he goes, yeah, but these were cheaper. And it was like one of those things where it's like, if you're told to do something, be specific about it, because we gave you specifics. And I always tell my PAs, it's so bad, you're not paid to think, you're paid to do. So if I say I need Gillette with 4 blades, I need Gillette with 4 blades, because now I got to send a different PA to actually do it. And we've wasted the time. And
that one comes back with the 3-blade, what it is?
But it was cheaper. Yeah.
Yes, but it was cheaper.
You're like, you guys aren't getting this. Yeah.
She wanted those. So now we've got both. Yeah. So that's just kind of it. Take the initiative, but know what they're thinking.
Sure.
Be specific. A lot of times, if it's, hey, the cooler's out of water, go ahead, fill it up. You see that, do it.
Yeah. So it's more the initiative of when you recognize something that's going to be a problem, just handle it there on the spot. But when you're given something, do it as you're given.
Correct.
And okay, that would be really good. I think, you know what? I think I would have given that same advice to some of the soldiers when I was training them up too. It'd be like, look, when there's a time for initiative and there's a time for following orders.
Yes.
And knowing the distinction is the real key.
Yeah. And on a movie set, there's a chain of command.
Right.
And it's like, okay, don't question this person. Just do what they say.
Fair enough. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, as we get ready to close this one out, I want to thank you again for being here with us.
My pleasure.
Big question is, what would you say to the people that are watching here if they're saying, hey, I just want to know more about DEANNA. How can they learn more about your work and what you do, and where can they go to find those things?
Okay. My website is beautiful Lie, pictures.com. And that's got all of the films and TV and everything I've done in the past, as well as a couple of the newer projects that are in development on there. And unfortunately, I don't do any social media. That's it. I just have my website, no social media. I've had stalkers, so I'm like, yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
Well, God bless. Thanks so much for being here again.
my pleasure.
Brian, you got any parting comments as we get ready to close out?
Make sure that you do your best in Him so you can pass. He passed the Gandalf staff.
Right? Yeah. You shall not. I just like the repent concept, I'm almost thinking of like and I know it's probably not the most Christian movie, but I was thinking of the Monty Python and the Holy Grail when they have the holy hand grenade of Antioch, and you're like, see, that's my kind of what. Yeah, just blow your enemies to tiny bits. That makes it. That's not the Christian way. Let's not do it that way. But I can certainly relate to it.
Yes.
Well, thanks again for being here. Appreciate your time. For those of you who are watching, thank you for timing in with us. As always, just remember, if you are a follower of Christ, you're already an influencer. And together, we are CIC. God bless.